G'day everyone, welcome back to Season 3, Episode 4. We have a ripper of a double episode here in this vlog. We're going to cover moving common criteria from host vars to group vars and the process of doing so from scratch. Then it'll be too confusing not to cover it. I'll quickly go over inventory, file and format, which we're meant to do in the Season 3, Episode 5, but it's here. So cheers everyone, let's start this. Again, up in GitHub, I've put the relevant files for this one, Season 3, Episode 4, up in Git. Any problems, please let me know in the comments down below, as Ray William Johnson says. So, looking at what are the group vars, for example, it would be better to run scripts or plays against group of devices rather than having to explicitly call every device or using the all keyword and then further negating them, saying execute a play on everything except for blah, 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 blah. To do this, we leverage something called groups in the inventory. However, before we jump straight into the groups, let's create group variable files which can house common criteria elements such as the connection details that we see here on the screen. Perhaps even some other group specific details like NTP, a data center code, a DNS suffix that we would like inherited. These are great attributes to put in a group var declaration. It also then allows us to take some of the noise that's in a host var when you become more proficient in Ansible. As I move my head again, you're going to strip the host var file down to its very basic bare bones to the point where you actually use a source of truth. And as I said, this is a 100 course. It's meant to get you familiar with the very basics and to the point where you can issue a play or something like that. But if you look over here where the mouse is right now, a lot of the attributes there are common in what CPE01 and what CPE02. Now, if you were working for a service provider, you could have hundreds, if not thousands of nodes, all, say if they're all Cisco, for example. A lot of that can be taken out and put into a group variable called CPEs, for example, and they just inherit that. So that's actually what we are about to go and do here in our next slide. So to start, what is, if you're Mr. Rahman, what is the path to our group vars? Remember in this assignment, we are using inventory. So the folder is called inventory, and we've also got under that group vars, host vars, outputs, plays, etc. Now, as you know, we've got, for example, I'll open up an old one. This is what our host var file looks like here and now at the start of S3E4. What we're going to do is we're going to strip away all of this part here and move it to a group construct called CPEs YAML. So let's do that. So in the CPEs YAML, we're going to actually need this part here. Let's actually take all of this, plug it here. Now what you don't need is this part because that's not common. That is very much, that is the most host specific thing one could have. If we're thinking about connecting to Cisco CPEs in our lab, that represents very much common criteria. So we can save that. So we've made a file called cpes.yaml. You could have named it whatever you want, but I do have a bit of a group design, and CPEs is going to be one of the groups I make as I take a bit of a sip of time. Not so delicioso. And I save that. Now, one of the great things here is now I can delete all this, which is something I made earlier. What CPE01.yml has now been reduced to that, and then very much some host-specific elements. So what I've done is I've gone under inventory, group vars. I've made my first file called cpes.yaml. I've done the same for Linuxes. Now, I've only got one Linux box, but there'll be more by the end of this. So I've taken out much of, where was the Raspberry Pi? Let's look at old Raspberry Pi, sorry. We've taken out a lot of the elements there and we've moved it across to Linuxes, resulting in all it needed really was the Ansible host. It could have inherited from a group, but once again, I've just left it in there. So that is excellent. So inventory group vars, cpes.yaml. I've taken some common criteria out. Group vars, linuxes.yaml. Again, same story. SRXs, I've taken out the common criteria for SRXs, and for my two switches I have here, I've taken that out. And have I updated what switch would look like yet? See, that's a great example right there. Switches, for this particular switch, the other one's broken. It's been reduced to that. There we go. Excellent. So we've saved the files now, and it's ready to start attacking the inventory. So I've renamed the old files just so you can get some reference of how it did look in S3E3, how it looks now in S3E4. We've reduced the respective host var files down to something that is specific to that host node. And more common criteria is in the group vars, CPEs, Linuxes, SRXs, switches, yada yada. So let's take a quick pause. You're probably thinking, what does this all mean? Once you start to see the inventory, a lot more of this will actually make sense. It'll more likely be the case that you'll actually go back and watch this slide again. It's just confusing. Do I start with the inventory? So I followed I'll show you a host var, I'll show you a group var, then the inventory. Then it might be the case where you go, I get it now. Because it's a lot of me, keyboard warrior thus far. And by the way, that is KTM 890R. It's a great bike. Please send me lots of money so I can buy it. Just kidding. It is a great bike though. So as we really start to now, the inventory file was supposed to be season 3, episode 5. We will cover it here. It's not going to take very long. But let's jump straight in. Up again in Git, season 3, episode 5 is just a complete replica of season 3, episode 4. However, just to follow consensus, it is there. Feel free to download it. So a quick, as I put my head there, inventory file. So in this series, we've got inventory as inv.yaml in the inventory folder. It's a YAML file that has a kind of like a list, if you will, of nodes defined singularly. It's also got the concept of groups. For example, CPEs is a group, and under CPEs, we've got two hosts, what's CPE01, what's CPE02. There's also a concept of a group of groups, of which you've got over here. You could have a group for fun, we'll just call it mixed bag. And it's a mixed bag that's got two child groups under it, being CPEs and SRXs. There's various reasons you will want to do this, and we will touch on that a bit later. So for now, it could be quite useful to actually go and define our inventory. So our inv file. So under inventory, let's just shrink this. We've got this file here that I've made earlier. Here's something I made earlier called inv.yaml. Now, an inventory file looks like this. And let's just get rid of it and let's go through it one by one. So we've got a group called CPEs. And in that group, we have two hosts called what CPE01 and what CPE02. Excellent. Note the indentation. That is critical for a YAML file. We've got a group called SRXs. Now, because I'm pretty ghetto, I only have one host in that group due to memory constraints. What SRX01. We have some switches. We have a group called switches. And in that group here and now, sadly, there is only one device. What SWT01. I will fix that one tonight whilst my daughter is having a party. Long story, not going into it. We have, due to memory constraints again, Linuxes, hosts, single host, and it's what Raspberry Pi 01. Are you noticing the indentation? It's very key in a YAML file to define where something is a child argument thereof. And to finish it off, we've got the, how would you say this? The lost souls, where we define everything else. And we're going to define all the nodes here. What CPE01, what CPE02, what is SRX01, what SWT01, and lucky last, we have what Raspberry Pi 01. Now, I haven't added any FortiGate stuff right now because I want to do that specially later because they're very special, very nice, sending me a license file. That is our inventory file, inv.yaml. Please don't call it inventory. You'll just confuse yourself and you may do some damage unknowingly later. As I said, we could do a group of groups where we could have something, I'm not going to save this part, mixed bag, if I could spell, and that could have some children in it, and those children could be, for example, CPEs, and the other one could be SRXs. That is a way to do a group of groups, and you will most definitely, as you become an automation guru, be doing that. So let's save our inventory. Yes, I would like to save it. Thank you very much. And what we're going to do is we're going to show quickly screen area. Again, screen area means put your terminal here. I'm going to quickly show how this comes together, and I didn't want to do that straight to the command line. I actually want to go, I've got a test play called Season 3, Episode 5, Get iOS Facts. Now, what you're going to see, you will not understand the play. Do not stress about that. But we're making this play act against a group called CPEs. Now, if we think what's in CPEs, this should actually run against two hosts, what CPE01 and 02. Now, if you remember, at the moment, there is no connection details here, such as the sysadmin JB and the password, Cisco123, the super secure password. So it's going to need to refer to the group var called cpes.yaml, which has all this information. So we're going to prove via the play that a fair bit is going on right here. Now, let's go back to that play. So what it's going to do is it's going to do a task against CPEs. And this is just going to grab some iOS facts and it's going to show it to the screen. Now, this may take a little while because you know what? You don't need to know what that is. Just accept I've put it in. Otherwise, we could be waiting a long time. So, maybe here's something I've done earlier. Let's get rid of the VVV. And let's run this play very quickly, just to see it go and do something, how it's leveraging some things that we're becoming masters of the automation universe on. As we hit the 15-minute marker, see how Mr. YouTube likes that. I really didn't want to record this again. You know what? I'm an idiot. It helps if you can actually have IP connectivity. I will not explain what just happened. Just assume that my network card was not connected, because it wasn't. I've had to disable my keyboard. It's a long story. Let's just do it. Hopefully it's actually plugged back in right now. That was funny. So what it's done is it's gone and it's actually made a connection and it's come back with, hey, I've logged in and I've able to retrieve something, which is the host name of that device, which we're going to go and set in very soon. So that's proved it's looked at the play, has looked at the inventory file to look up a group, to look up a host var, to look up a group var, which then has also worked, well, I need to be able to connect to this. What's the Ansible IP? How do I connect? And that is it. That's how it's done it. You don't need to understand that play. So as we think about what we've done now, your current skill set, you're able to understand basic concepts of Ansible. You're able to describe key basic files, and you've got the ability to create an inventory. So we're off to a great start. In this particular vlog, we've covered off a group var example. We've covered off an inventory file example, and I bet that was easier than you thought it was going to be. And we've just confirmed that a playbook actually works via using the group vars. So very, very soon, we're going to look at the lab, or for Cisco lab, for example, and then we're going to issue some plays. We're going to do some work on some Cisco switches, or assuming I get that one working. And we're going to do a couple of, we're going to push configs out, retrieve some facts. It's going to be really excellent. So again, in under 18 minutes, you've done a real lot of work. I'm very proud of you all for paying attention, all 2 or 3 of you. And I look forward to seeing you in the next vlog. Cheers, g'day guys. Yes, g'day.